Hey guys, it's time again for another of my video responses. This is part 2 for Woodlin37 and Croooow. Their video response for pick your 15 favorite games for 15 game consoles or systems. If you want to see part 1, I've got it in the link below. This is part 2. It's going to be more of the modern systems, starting back in still in the 8 and 16-bit or 16-bit systems. So let's get started. We're going to start first with the TurboGrafx 16. Don't have a lot of games for it. I've only got 3 or 4 games for it, and a game that I've recently started playing. You've seen some videos where I've put boss battles up. Plays a lot like Zelda. That should probably tell you what it is. That is Newtopia. I've only got the cart for it, but that's good enough for me. It is an absolutely fabulous game. If you love Zelda, definitely check it out. If you want to see what kind of gameplay it is, just check out, just look through my videos for Newtopia, and you can find some gameplay videos for them. Next is the Sega CD. Had a hard time picking one for this one because there's a lot of great games for it. It came down to a game that I probably played the most and enjoyed the most. That is Shining Force CD. I really liked the Lunar Eternal Blue games as well, but for some reason I just like this game just a little bit more. Alright, next is going to be the N64. If you've checked my other videos out, you may already know the answer to this one. That is Diddy Kong Racing. I just absolutely love Diddy Kong Racing. To me, I like it better than Mario Kart. I like it just where you can just ride around and do a little bit of adventuring besides racing as well. So definitely check that game out. I'm sure most of you guys have, because it's actually a really fun game. Next is going to be the Sega Saturn, another system that has a lot of great games. It's very hard to choose just one. Again, it went down to which game did I play the most, and never beat it, but I got really close, and it's another one of those games I got to go back at some point and finish and complete the story for it. That is Dragon Force. This is an absolutely awesome strategy RPG from Working Designs. Unfortunately, they never released a sequel over here, but they did release it in Japan. I know there's some translations out there, and I'd always thought about picking it up and using the translations to play that one as well, but we'll see. Next is the PlayStation 1, a system that has probably some of the best JRPGs out there, bar none. There's so many of them. But I went a different route for my favorite game. That is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Again, a game that I probably spent hundreds of hours playing. So hopefully someday I'll actually be able to sit down and actually complete this game. The graphics are just amazing. I love 2D Castlevania a lot more than 3D. I just like the classic, NES, Super Nintendo feel for the Castlevania series, and this definitely has it with a lot of RPG touches as well. Next is the Nintendo GameCube, another system that has a lot of great games. Again, it came down to which game did I play the most. That would be Animal Crossing. This is definitely my favorite Animal Crossing. That's because of the classic NES games that they had in this version, where you could get them via card or find them, or and you could play. I can't remember all the games, but I know there was also a few classic NES games that you could play in them. I'd boot this game up. I may not play it for a few months, but when Christmas or Thanksgiving or New Year's or something would come around, I'd pop that sucker in and see what special events they had for that calendar year. Next is the Sega Dreamcast, another system that has some great games, but again, it came down to which game did I play the most and enjoyed the most. That's Soul Calibur. This is probably, I know it is, this is definitely my favorite fighting game of all time. I just absolutely love that game. I've put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into it. Anytime we had a party back in the 90s, this was the game, or 2000s, this was the game we popped in and we'd play it for hours on end. I was pretty good at Keelik and Maxie. That was probably my 2 favorite characters in the Soul Calibur game. Next is the PlayStation 2, and this is probably, if I could come down and not have a nervous breakdown and come up with a top 10 games of my favorite games of all time, this would be definitely in the top 10. That is Dark Cloud 2 for the PlayStation 2. Again, people say this is only about a 30 to 40 hour action RPG. I remember I had the strategy guide with it, and my roommate sat with the strategy guide and told me what to do. You would expect it to go much quicker because of that, but by the time I beat the game, I'd put over 105 hours into the game. And my God, is it just an awesome game. The graphics, the cel shading, the camera gets a little wonky at times, but it didn't matter. I just absolutely loved all the way they mix stuff. You can lay the towns out. You could play golf. You could fish. Besides going into the dungeons, it's definitely one of my top 5 games of all time. Next is the Microsoft Xbox. I didn't really play this system a lot, but I definitely collected for it. It came down to a game that just gave me the best nostalgia feeling of all the games. That is Bard's Tale. Besides having playing the original Bard's Tale for the Commodore 64 or the Apple II, this one has a little bit different flair, but it's definitely got a lot of comedy in it. If you want a good action RPG, definitely check this game out because, like I said, it's probably one of the funniest games I've played in a long time. So definitely check it out. Next is the Nintendo DS, and I know a lot of people are going to be doing a hoo and a hawing because of this, because you would never expect me to pick this game, but if you know me well enough and know where my history is, back in the 80s, mid-80s and late 80s, I played a lot on the Atari and Commodore 64 vintage computers. So I played a lot of 8-bit RPGs, and because of that, this game gives me that warm, fuzzy feeling when I played games back in the 80s. That is Darkspire. Besides being an Atlas game, don't know if you can see it, you can play the game in 2 different ways. You can play the game with its normal graphics, so it still has a kind of a classic feel to it, or you can play it with just black and white wireframe graphics, which I think is pretty cool. And this game is tough as nails. It is hard as hell. So if you want a good challenge for a RPG game, definitely check this out. Next is the PSP. Again, it came down to which game did I just play the most. I haven't played a lot of these games for the PSP, so this might actually change at some point when I'm able to get and play some of the JRPGs for this system, because there's just some absolutely great games for it. But for right now, it's going to be Innocent Life, A Harvest Moon Adventure. Just because I've spent hundreds of hours playing this game. It plays a lot like Harvest Moon, a lot of farming and that kind of stuff, but I really enjoy those kind of games. So if you like that kind of games, definitely check this out. And now we're up to more of the modern systems. Next is going to be the PS3. Again, back just a year or so ago, I only had maybe 20 games for the PS3, and now I'm back up to about 50 or so, I think. So, still though, my favorite game for that system is Ni no Kuni. I love Studio Ghibli. I just love their art style. This has an absolutely great story. It's kind of like a pet battle kind of system as well. I actually pre-ordered it and got the Metal 10, limited edition 10 for it as well. If you haven't checked this game out, definitely check it. In my opinion, it is the best RPG for the PS3, bar none. I just absolutely love this game. And here's another game that's probably going to surprise a lot of people. The reason I picked this is for the 360. This is the only game that I got 100% in the achievements in. I got everything. Playing hundreds and hundreds of hours in this game. I absolutely loved it just because of all the plotting and, you know, making the land the way you want it, planting, growing plants, and the piñatas. I guess I should tell you what it is. That is Viva Piñata. Don't know why. I know it's a kiddie game, but I absolutely love this game. I've got the sequel. Someday I will play that as well. I just don't have the time to spend hundreds of hours in a game like that right now. Next is the Wii. If you know me, this probably isn't a surprise either, being a JRPG. That is Xenoblade Chronicles. Back when this game came out, as you can see, this is a factory sealed copy. I bought 2, one to open up and one to keep factory sealed, because I figured this game might be worth something, and it turned out that it is. Unfortunately, because of the shit that GameStop did and having somebody reprint crap, they dropped in price, but that's fine. I figure 5 to 10 years this thing's going to be worth quite a bit of money. I've probably spent maybe 10-15 hours into it so far. I'm going to get back to it at some point and beat it. The game feels like an MMO when you play it. It's just the graphics. I can't believe it's on a Wii, to be honest, how nice and beautiful the graphics are for that. And it feels really good when you're actually doing the combat as well. So I know it's still a little expensive right now, maybe $40–50, but if you can find it like at a flea market somewhere, $5–10, definitely pick it up because it's an absolutely great game. And finally, we've got the Wii U. Unfortunately, I've only got about 3 or 4 games for it. And I know there's better games than this out for it right now, but I just don't own them. So the game that I picked was Super Mario Bros. U. This was one of the first games that I got for it, and it feels like playing a classic Super Mario game, in my opinion. It just feels like you're playing, Super Mario 1, 2, or 3. It feels like that to me, and I absolutely love that feeling. It's still a little tough for me. I've never been good at the platforming games, but I still really enjoy playing this game. Well, guys, that is 15 consoles and 15 of my favorite games for those consoles. Come back probably next week, and I'll have the last part 3, which will be my vintage computers and the more modern PC games. It'll be 15 games for the 15 computers. Thanks again for watching.